This is Bloomberg Surveillance.
Is there anywhere that's better to be right now than Home Depot?
Well, I mean, in that area, that's where probably the strongest fundamentals are going to come through. The hard part is that's also where the valuations are pretty rich as well. So, but I mean, I think people are hiding there because they know the numbers are good. Back in May, they even told you the quarters had started off really well, something you haven't heard from anywhere else.
I mean, you see glowing analyst reports right now for Home Depot. Is this about the housing recovery, the strength of the consumer, or something else that this company is doing right?
It's not the strength of the consumer. I mean, it's definitely a share of the wallet going to that area as, you know, as the housing market has been stronger. It's also a company that has gone from, you know, operating poorly 5 or 6 years ago, well in the, like, kind of in the sweet spot of a really nice turnaround, operating really well.
Mort Singer with us as well from Marvin Traub. It's about merchandising, isn't it? Whether it's Home Depot, David covering the big box, or regular retail, it's about merchandising. What's the new in merchandising?
I think it's a point of purchase thing. Ultimately, if you can create an environment that is compelling for the shopper, wherever they may be in your store, and how you can help them actually shop, so whether it's be through the mobile device or when they get home, so they're either showrooming when they're in your store so they can go back and shop at home. So I think there's lots of different ways to do it, and technology seems to be at the center of it.
Best Buy is also reporting earnings tomorrow. David Strasser, when you look at Best Buy, there was this state of emergency not so long ago that it was going to go out of business. It was doomed because of Amazon.
World's coming to an end.
That's changed.
I got that
completely
wrong.
Well, we talked about it, I think, last year, earlier this year as well. It was never nearly as bad as people thought. They also actually have a very competent management team in there right now that are making some changes. They may have a bump this quarter. I mean, I think that category, you haven't had any Apple releases in the second quarter where they're about to announce. You've got sort of the television category remains tough. So it's still tough out there, but the progress is going to show.
Is Mort's world in your world? Like, he talks about merchandising and rag and bone. At Home Depot, it's just about price, isn't it? I want to go in and get a hammer.
You know what? If it was all about price, they probably wouldn't have had those difficult times they had it earlier in the decade, you know, in the 2004 5. It wouldn't have been as
so
bad.
they're merchandising.
It's merchandising. It's service too.
But to Scarlett's point about the example of Best Buy, yes, they figured out the low price match when it comes to online, but they haven't figured out how to make a profit out of it yet, have they?
I mean, well, no one's really done a great job profiting online, you know, in any of the hard good big box areas, because it's very hard to sell the high margin add-ons still. It's just not as strong a merchandising. I think merchandising online still has a long way to go to figure out the real profitability. You know, just basically selling the full basket, it's just not as well done online as.
Mark, do you want to jump in here?
Yeah, so I think if you look at Best Buy, for example, they're taking a page out of the guys at the higher end doing shop-in-shops. They're doing shop-in-shops with Microsoft, with Apple, and enabling them to really get their message across to consumer in the shop.
Is that working? Is Apple shops in Best Buy working?
The Apple shops have worked. The new ones have been Samsung, and Microsoft is just coming out now in time for the holidays. You know, we'll probably hear a lot more about that tomorrow when they print. But that was a big deal. I mean, when that happened, if you remember, Best Buy stock rocketed. It was up like 15% that day as the market revalued the real estate inside a Best Buy store.
And the Best Buy proposition on really taking advantage of its showroom aspect brings back that idea of luxury retail as well, because showrooming pays off in that sector.
It absolutely does. And I think the way it pays off is the brand is able to showcase their marketing initiatives and then interface with the retailer itself, and then there's a symbiotic relationship.
David Strasser, thank you so much with Janney Capital Markets. Greatly appreciate it. Retail. I'm fascinated by it.
It'll be a theme of the week.
It's so varied here around the economic data, which shows the consumer flat on their back.
Which is why the strategy matters, which is why it's interesting to talk about the Best Buys.
What are you going to wear to Jackson Hole?